حي على الفلاح.
From the times of the ancient Mayans to the modern day, we have this fascination with the unseen, and this is timeless. Nostradamus was like a factory of prophecies. He made prophecies continuously, and he made prophecies for the next 10 centuries. That's how confident he was. All the way to the year 3797. However, if you look at his prophecies, what you find is something like this. These are two different prophecies which I put up here. To support the great troubled cape, the Reds will march in order to clarify it. A family will be almost overcome by death. Red ones will knock down the red one. Could you be more vague? I don't understand what that is saying. However, somebody with a bit of imagination can say red. Right, the Reds are going to take on the red. Who was red? Oh, the Soviet Union, they were red. Oh, Soviet Union collapsed. One of the theories why it's collapsed is internal strife, which is red against red. Oh, do you see? It's just so vague, anyone could come up with it. Look at another prophecy. The great swarm of bees will arise, such that one will not know whence they came. By night the ambush, the sentinel under the vine, city delivered by 5 babblers, not naked. Getting explicit there, right? I don't understand. I really don't understand what he's trying to say. However, that could mean many different things to many different people. So Nostradamus is vague, and where he's vague, you can't say he's right, you can't say he's wrong, you can't say anything because he's purely vague. However, when he is precise, he's wrong. In the year 1999, in the 7th month, all right, that's quite precise, from the sky will come the great king of terror, bringing back to life the great king of the Mongols. Before and after, Mars to reign by good fortune. Right, then it goes into vagueness, right? We don't understand the last bit, but we do understand something terrible is going to happen in the year 1999. People started actually panicking. Some people thought the great terror in the sky, nuclear weapons. Other people thought Dajjal, Antichrist. 1999 came, and what happened in 1999? Nobody knows. Nothing important actually happened. Mother Shipton, very interesting character. Mother Shipton, let's look at one of the predictions. Cardinal Wolsey will see the town of York from a distance, but never actually set foot in it. The confirmation in 1530, Cardinal Wolsey, who was a real person, he did actually see the town of York, and before he could enter it, before he traveled there, he received a message from the king, and then he had to come back to London, and on the way he died. So this is a precise prediction which was confirmed. So what's going on here? Well, the issue was, this is a historical prediction which was confirmed historically. But the problem was this. The confirmation of what happened was 1530, and the earliest written record of Mother Shipton, who's known as the English Nostradamus, the earliest written record was 1641. So it's not really a prediction because it's reverse engineered at best. Joseph Smith. Let's look at this prediction. And by the way, I've chosen these predictions to show the earlier criteria and how certain things are failing, right? Look at what he says. Verily thus saith the Lord concerning the wars that will shortly come to pass, beginning at the rebellion of South Carolina, which will eventually terminate in the death and misery of many souls. And the time will come that war will be pronounced upon all nations, beginning at this place, for behold, the southern states shall be divided against the northern states. Let me just tell you guys how important this is. He's writing this before the American Civil War. The American Civil War happened after his prediction. You can prove his prediction came before the American Civil War. Look what he says. South Carolina is where the rebellion is going to begin. and the North is then going to fight the South. So he's not only telling you a civil war is coming, he's telling you it's going to begin in South Carolina, and then it's going to be North versus South, and many people are going to perish. Anyone know where the American Civil War started? South Carolina. And it was the North versus the South. So this prediction was confirmed. And Joseph Smith and his followers, Joseph Smith made the prediction, he died before it was fulfilled, and his followers were using this as evidence that he is a true prophet of God. Okay? And he's the founder of Mormonism. However, here's the problem with his prediction. Congressman John Randolph, who didn't claim to be a prophet, in 1807 he made the same prediction. American statesman John Calhoun stated in 1847 the very same thing, that North is going to fight against the South. These two guys, they basically said that the North is going to fight against the South. Why? Because that was a political matter that was boiling over that any perceptive mind would have actually said. So we have statements going back before Joseph Smith that say the North is going to fight the South. When Joseph Smith made the prediction, before he made it, in 1832, South Carolina, where he said the rebellion is going to start, openly declared their support for rebelling against the federal regulation that went against their interests. It was entirely predictable, hence you had people before Joseph Smith actually saying it. And Joseph Smith, let's look at his prediction. Although his prediction was very predictable, he overstepped himself, he overreached himself. Why? Because Mormons at that time, they would have said, look, the North is fighting the South and it started in South Carolina, therefore Joseph Smith's a true prophet. But let's look at his entire prophecy. He not only said the North is going to fight the South and it's going to start in South Carolina, he said other nations are going to get involved, including Great Britain, until there is an entire nation against nation, all-out war, a world war. That never happened at all. So he was right in terms of what was predictable, and he was wrong in terms of what was unpredictable, and that actually never took place. Aleister Crowley, 20th century, we're now in the 20th century. He was dubbed the wickedest man in the world by the British media. Why? Because of his very liberal ideas on sex and drugs. In fact, his liberal ideas today, even today in our liberal society, they would be frowned upon. He had blasphemous writings against traditional religions. He used to ridicule them. He went to Egypt and he claimed there was a supernatural entity called Daoist, which gave him a book of law. And then he founded a religion called Thelema, which is very popular amongst the occult movement till today. And his moral rule was this: do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. So Aleister Crowley, what's very important about him is this. He made a lot of predictions, and he made obviously predictions that we can show today are completely false. That these predictions don't make any sense at all. However, something happened which made his followers super excited, right? And they were speaking about this. He makes this prophecy, and remember, he was at the beginning of the 20th century, and he bought this house in Scotland, and he made this prophecy. But your holy place shall be untouched through the centuries. He's speaking about himself. But he claimed the book of law was not his book, but was revealed to him. But your holy place shall be untouched throughout the centuries. Though with fire and sword it will be burnt down and shattered, yet an invisible house there standeth, and shall stand until the fall of the great equinox, right? So basically he's making a prediction here that my holy place, which according to him, and we have records of this, he says his holy place is Bolskine House in the Scottish Highlands, right, near the Loch Ness, right? He says it's going to be burnt down, but then an invisible house is going to be there and it's going to remain till some other event happens. In this is a BBC article. Very, very recently, the house basically burnt down. And obviously the people, occultist type people, they were very influenced by this. However, there's a clear problem. Number one, this could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Two, what's the chances of a house catching fire? a complete prediction, something not really risky, so not something that we can actually take as a prophecy. So when we look at the objective criteria, risky, accurate, concrete, unpredictable, numerous, chronological order, falsifiable, consistently right, preservation. Aleister Crowley fails on most accounts, but the account that he fails on, which we should highlight, is his character, his integrity, and his agenda, right? Because he was, as a person, a very sick character, right, in terms of his depraved ideas. According to the objective criteria, from the time of the ancient Mayans to Aleister Crowley, you find this failure. You find this consistent failure to reach this objective standard. Anyone heard of Daoism? They had their scripture going back roughly to the 5th century. They were a very evangelical religion. They had this book called the Divine Incantations, and they believed they were going to be aided by celestial ghost troops, which for the people that are going to uphold Daoistic teachings. They're evangelicals. They were supposed to convert the unenlightened. They were going to get supernatural protection for their priests and their temples. Here's the interesting point. The rejectors of Daoism, they were going to die of horrible diseases. This is one of their claims. And that Daoism was going to prevail. Daoism as a religion was going to prevail. So remember, this is the scripture from the 5th century. Now, let's look at what basically happened, right? So you had the Tang dynasty, in which the Daoist religion got state support, which you do get. You do get state supporting religions. In the Song dynasty, you got state support. However, in the Yuan dynasty, hopefully I'm saying that right, you started to have some setbacks of Daoism. Their books were burnt and stuff. Then during the Qing dynasty, there was widespread rejection of Daoism, and there's rise of Confucianism. And later on in the early 20th century, you had the rise of Christianity in China. Christianity is going to be one of the largest populations of Christians in the world is going to be China in the next couple of decades, right? And then during, of course, the People's Republic of China, and later on the China that we have today, the official religion is what? State atheism. State atheism. So Daoism clearly hasn't prevailed. Those ghost troops didn't come and strike down Mao and all the rest of the heathens and the infidels with diseases. Okay, now let's go to Vedic astrologers, Hindu astrologers. However, what's interesting about Hindu astrologers is not only Hindus who go there. Muslims also go to Hindu astrologers. Christians also go to Hindu astrologers. Here's some interesting facts. Vedic astrology is officially recognized by the Indian government as a science. They actually said this: there is an urgent need to rejuvenate the science of Vedic astrology in India, to allow this scientific knowledge to reach the society at large and provide opportunities to get this important science even exported to the world. Right? So they clearly state-sanctioned astrology, right? And again, people's fascination, and people spend a lot of money on astrology, right? Now what happened was, some people in India weren't happy with this. So what they did is, the University Grants Commission was supporting Vedic astrology, and some people, obviously, they said this is not science. So they went to the High Court to try and block the University Grants Commission. And what they said in return is, the Mumbai High Commission said this, that basically they do not cover astrology and related sciences. Astrology is a trusted science that has been practiced for over 4,000 years. This is not a random statement. This is actually the Mumbai High Court. So there is a lot of trust in Vedic astrology till today. However, a physicist from India, Jayant Narlikar, he wanted to do a scientific experiment to show that this is not science. So what he did is this. This is really funny, actually. 200 children, 100 children who are intelligent, and 100 children which were intellectually disabled. And he took their dates, obviously, and these Vedic astrologers, they go by dates and they come up with their stuff. He used 27 astrologers with an average of 14 years of experience. Now here's the thing. By pure throwing the dice, you would get a result of 50%. However, the success rate was 43%. They failed by someone who would have just done pure guesswork. So this type of Vedic astrology is something which, if you try and scrutinize it, you find out that it's basically nonsense.